You came alone. That was either courage or carelessness, and in the young I have found the two indistinguishable.
You asked me to come alone.
I ask many things. Very few comply so completely. Solara has missed you.
He remembers me, Auroriana.
He remembers everyone. It is his one flaw. I have read the Conrad file, Derek.
I figured you had.
All of it. The pod telemetry. The cortical scans. The event signature your mind produced at the threshold of death. An aperture of 11 picoseconds, exiting the membrane of this universe at a point my instruments could resolve but not follow.
You quoted that from memory.
I quote everything from memory.
To the picosecond?
My technicians measured a micro wormhole open in your cerebral cortex and terminate beyond space-time. No far coordinates. No return signature. It went nowhere.
Nowhere is somewhere.
So you said, on the transcript. It was charming there. It is rather less charming now that half my science directorate repeats it in the corridors like a prayer.
Maybe they're onto something.
Or perhaps a 17-year-old boy spent a few minutes in a controlled near-death state inside a pentillion pod and dreamed a garden.
It wasn't a dream.
Every dreamer says that, Derek. I have crossed dying multiverses. I have lived trillions of your years, and I have spent no small number of them watching civilizations invent their gods. 10,000 of them, personally. Do you know what those gods had in common? Their makers were afraid. They looked at the tomb and could not bear it, and so they painted a door on the wall.
And what if there's a real door, and you've spent trillions of years painting a wall over it?
Clever. Sit with clever for a moment, and then let me show you what stands behind my wall. Svarta reaches into every corner of this galaxy, every corner of this universe, and the multiverse, and all of space-time. It has cataloged the birth of stars and the extinction of realities, and in all of that, all of it, it has found no architect, no throne, no signature in the design.
That's like searching every room of a house for the guy who built it. He's not in a room. He made the rooms.
A poet's answer.
Serafina said God invented physics, and time, and the realm beyond them. You're looking for him inside the stuff he made, with tools made out of the stuff he made. And when the tools come back empty, you call it proof.
And when your architect cannot be found anywhere, by any instrument, under any condition, you call that proof as well. Do you see the difficulty, Derek? Your position cannot lose, which means it cannot win. It has left the domain of knowledge and entered the domain of comfort.
Then why is there anything at all? A universe, laws, us, something instead of nothing. Even Solara knows you don't get something from nothing.
That argument. I have heard it from you, and now Solara, and 10,000 pulpits as well, and it devours itself every time. If everything requires a source, then so does your architect. And if your architect requires none, then perhaps neither does the universe, and we may dispense with the middleman.
She answered that. Sort of. He isn't inside the rules. He made the rules. Asking who made him is like asking what's north of the North Pole.
Convenient.
So is a universe that explains itself. Then explain the wormhole. Mercy machines don't punch holes in the universe. Your own instruments watched it leave. You just don't like where it went.
It went nowhere.
It went where Svarta can't follow. That's not the same thing, and you know it's not the same thing. That's why you read the file. That's why you're still reading it.
Careful.
I'm not trying to win. I'm trying to tell you what I saw.
The garden. The robe. The woman in white. I have read your account. I could recite it back to you.
Then recite this part. I stood somewhere outside everything, and the universes looked like bubbles floating on a dark sea. I was wearing a robe, and every point of light in it was a whole civilization. She showed me mine. Everything you govern, everything Svarta touches, one spark. It doesn't translate. I know how it sounds.
It sounds like the terminal vision of a dying mammal. We have cataloged the death visions of 1 million species, Derek. Shall I tell you what the dying see? A guide. Always a guide. And the guide always says the same 3 things. You are loved. There is more. Go back and tell them. The brain is a mercy machine. It anesthetizes its own extinction. Yours is simply better at it than most.
She gave me a number. For the scale of him, a trillion to the trillionth power, squared, and then that, a trillion times over. And she said that was 1 year of his life. I couldn't hold it in my head. She said that was the point.
Numbers are not evidence. They are poetry with discipline.
Fine, then answer me this one. Out of 1 billion worlds in this galaxy, why is Earth the center of your research? Why did your own scientists build a chapel on the moon?
There is a saying among our old ones that humans are a race more ancient than even we are, woven with something the universe itself cannot contain. I have always regarded it as sentiment.
You memorized it.
I memorize everything.
Yeah, you said. Serafina told me that belief, for us, isn't an opinion. It's more like an eye. That's what the Conrads were studying up there, isn't it? Whether believing connects us to a place your instruments can't reach. I can't hand you my eye, Madame Pentillion, but you can't stand next to somebody watching a sunset and tell them it isn't there because your equipment came back dark.
Every madman on every world has said precisely that about his visions.
Madmen don't leave wormhole signatures.
One signature, one boy, once.
Once is all it takes, if it's real. Why did you bring me here the first time?
I beg your pardon.
The first time. You told me maybe I could teach you to remember. I've thought about it ever since. Remember what? You don't forget things. You just told me so. You've had trillions of years to remember everything there is, except maybe what it felt like before you concluded the universe was empty.
I did not conclude it lightly. It cost me more than you will ever.
Valerion.
Do not.
He went into a dark mirror and never came out the other side. And your scientists tell you the exit at death leads to an eternal, unconscious tomb. So for billions of years you've carried it. The person you loved most is sealed in nothing. He isn't. I stood on the far shore. There is no tomb. It's a cocoon. Nobody is sealed in anything. Serafina told me to come back and say it. To the Pentillions, to all of you, that the beauty of life is worth fighting for. That evil exists because of fear, and love conquers fear.
I think she meant your fear.
You are 17 years old. You have loved one girl. You have buried no one. You died for a handful of minutes with a team of my technicians standing by to pull you back the moment your telemetry dipped. A death with a lifeguard, Derek. And on the strength of that one afternoon, you stand in my hall and propose to redraw the cosmology of 1 million worlds, and my grief along with it.
That's not what I meant.
I am not finished. You asked what I wanted you to teach me to remember. Very well. Here is what I remember instead. I remember what hope is. Hope is an anesthetic. Your species synthesizes it beautifully. It may be your finest invention, and I have governed too long and lost too much to medicate myself. So hear my terms. When Jenna Collins dies, and she will die, Derek, they all die. That is the one law no mirror has ever broken. Go and stand at her exit point with your instruments and your garden and your woman in white. And if you can still say the word cocoon out loud, come back to Valmora Prime and say it to me. Until that day, you will not speak my husband's name in this hall again. The audience is over.
For what it's worth, Serafina knew you. When she talked about the Pentillions forgetting, she looked sad. Not for herself, for you.